Evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good summer break as we're coming to the end of summer and autumn is fast coming in, as I can see from the colours of the leaves. Welcome to the night's meeting of Audit and Governance Committee. Members and officers in attendance in the room, please remember to switch microphones on when speaking and speak directly into the microphone and switch off when finished. Reporting officers rejoining via Teams, please switch cameras and microphone on when speaking and off when finished. Use the hand up icon in Teams to indicate a question or comment for the chair to invite you to speak. The meeting this evening will be live streamed and a recording of the meeting will be available on the Council's website within 24 hours of the meeting. Any exempt item, private, on the agenda, the Chair will move the Local Government Act of 1972 for the meeting to go into private and the live stream will be stopped. There may be a short delay before taking those items. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Fatima Begum and the independent members Helen King and Niaz Chowdhury. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So I said that again?
Council saves the holiday.
Right, okay, so that's so noted. Right, before we get into the body of the agenda, there's just some notes I think would be good to read out. The response to cyber risk queries raised at the last meeting was circulated yesterday to all members. The update on the committee's work plan request at the last meeting is underway and the revised version will be available for the next meeting. An additional meeting will be held on Tuesday the 3rd of February 2026 to receive the external auditor's audit finding report and the auditor's annual report and the auditor's audit opinion. An email has already been sent out. Lastly, SIPFA's audit committee skills self-assessment form that was previously sent has been circulated, I think yesterday. For those members who have not returned them, please do so. If you need any assistance in filling them out, just phone Marie, because it's PDF.
Oh, is it? Has it been?
Yeah. My version was PDF and I had to work out how to get that little X in one of the boxes. I did do that. Hey. Right, moving on, colleagues. Right, you got right, page 5 to 8 minutes of the 30th of June. First go through it for accuracy. So page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. Any queries, amendments? Right, do colleagues, those in attendance, do you agree that it's a true reflection of the meeting that took place on the 30th of June? Yeah. Thank you. We now move to minutes of the 10th of July. That's page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. And page 13. Any amendments or errors? No. Right, colleagues, for those that were in attendance on the 10th of July 2025, do you agree that they're a true reflection of the meeting that took place? Yeah. Thank you. Right. Item 3, declarations of interest. The members are reminded to disclose any pecuniary interest. Here, I won't read it out today. I think I've read it out quite a few times in detail. Right. Section 4. Item 4, that's section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act. If those items are before, will be identified at the meeting. Any members so affected is reminded that they should disclose the fact and refrain from voting on those items. Yeah. Any urgent, now to item 5 on the agenda, any urgent business?
No, Chair. No.
Thank you. Item 6, reference from committees and other bodies.
No.
Are there any?
No, Chair, so let me see.
Right, we now move to item 7, internal audit, that's page 14. And Kanshan, you're not late on the agenda this time. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. So this report provides an update on the work of the Internal Audit Service for the first quarter for 25-26 and to highlight any key internal control issues arising from the work completed and areas where assurance can be given. As at the end of quarter one, we have delivered 24% of the total planned audit days, and while we've commenced work on the 25-26 audit plan, the internal audit activity during the first quarter also focused on completing outstanding audit reviews carried forward from the previous year. So as at the end of quarter one, we issued 2 final audit reports, and a further 25 audit reports were either at draft report stage or file review stage. We also certified 1 grant claim to confirm that the terms and conditions of the grant had been met. A summary of the work that we've completed and the progress against the audit plan is attached at Appendix A for more details. Based on the audit work we've completed for quarter one, there are no significant internal control issues to report at this particular committee at this point in time. In terms of the follow-up audit recommendations, again, the committee received an update last month at the July meeting where we reported that of the recommendations followed up, 74% were fully implemented, 23% were in the progress of being implemented, and 3% were not yet implemented. A further update will be provided as part of the next quarterly internal audit update report. In terms of the recommendation, the committee is recommended to receive the Internal Audit Plan Update Report, which covers the period 1st of April to 30th of June 2025. I'm happy to take any questions on that report, Chair.
Colleagues, have you got any questions? Councillor Underwood.
Thank you, Chair. So, obviously, in the first quarter, you're going to get your brought forward residual audits, and there's obviously an effort in the first quarter of the reporting year to get those out of the way. Can this have a knock-on effect on the rest of the audit programme? For example, the third-party audits, there's a number of brought forward audits that are work in progress, but there doesn't seem to be many of the, so 20 out of the 197 planned audit days for the third-party audits have been completed. So, I mean, is that having an effect on the planned audit for this year?
With the third-party audit reviews, many of the Luton Rising audit reviews have commenced in the second quarter. So we have a planned days of, I think they're the most of it, just over 100 days on that one. So we have a particular auditor who's focused on completing those particular audit reviews as at the end of the year. So at this point in time, I don't see there being an issue in terms of completing those particular third-party audit reviews, unless, of course, we're experiencing delays from the third party in receiving the information or finalising those audit reports. So at this point in time, for those particular reviews that have been scheduled in.
Thank you. Just one more. Presumably all of the programmes and the plans in here, their effective carrying out, their effective execution doesn't depend on the. Do any of those depend on the audit being carried out? So, if an audit is in progress, that's not impeding the execution of any of these programmes or plans.
So with the current audit plan, you'll see that there are some reviews which we carry out on an annual basis. So some of the reviews, if we've got a review which we're kind of completing this year, which has been outstanding from the previous year, we'd have a look at the scope to see, does that give us the assurance that we needed, because it's a continuous process on some of those reviews, so it wouldn't necessarily kind of impact that particular audit, if you like. On other areas, again, depending on staff availability and resources, if we were to experience any issues with staffing issues, we'd then start prioritising the audit plan, making sure that all of the high priority audit reviews will be completed in the first instance, and look at how we can kind of gain the assurance at the end of the year with the resources that we have available to deliver the rest of the plan. Thank you.
Any questions, colleagues? Councillor Farouk.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Councillor. In your report, you said there's 3% still outstanding project not be done. So can you clarify which are they?
Sorry, was that the follow-up? 3% for the follow-up recommendations. I don't have the details to hand, but I can circulate that information in terms of which recommendations are outstanding for those, so I can inform the Audit Committee in terms of the progress which is being made around those recommendations. Thank you.
Councillor Malik?
Good evening. Kanjana, I have a question regarding page number 18. It's progress against audit plan 2025 to 2026. If we can have a look, audit plan risk assessment category. Most of the items are on high risk. What are the measures we are taking to control these high risks?
The audit plan risk assessment categories, we have a definition on page, if I can just...
Appendix 1.
That's right, Appendix 1. So on page 24, we've defined what the audit plan risk assessment is. So with the high risk, what we've said is that there's significant impact on the achievement of the organisation's objectives, and these areas require immediate audit attention and frequent review. And if it's a medium risk, it's considered to be a moderate impact, and it requires regular monitoring and is audited periodically. So with these particular risk assessments, again, we'll prioritise the audit reviews on those particular areas, again, prioritising on those high priority risks and areas in the first instance, and then work through those medium risks. There are other ways that we can also gain assurances on those medium area risks as well. So we could, for example, have an internal control questionnaire just to kind of have an understanding of what controls are in place to manage those risks. These areas are also linked to the corporate risk register. So again, some of these risks have already been identified as part of the risk owners process when they're looking at those risks on the corporate risk register. So again, we can have a look at the control measures in place on the risk register to see how these risks are being mitigated against. And the other ways that we can do this is obviously through either a full assurance review, or we could have a look at certain areas within that area which are potentially higher risk again. So there's various different ways that we can kind of gain the assurances on those medium priority risks areas.
Do you think, in front of that plan days to complete how to control these high or medium risks, do you think are there work where you will achieve the progress efficiently?
At the moment, we're on target. It's at the end of quarter one. So our target is to achieve at least 90% of the audit plan by the end of the year. So we do realise that there will be some areas which will be carried forward as at the end of the year. So at this point in time, we are on target to achieve that 90%. But as things move on during the year, and again, it depends on the staffing resourcing issues and particularly if there's any kind of high-risk areas which we perhaps don't have on the audit plan, which may request an audit, we might then spend more time on focusing on those other high-risk areas which perhaps we haven't planned for example. So again, the audit plan is a fluid moving plan, so it is kind of looking at the risk landscape at the point in time that we're doing the audit, and sometimes if there's particular changes within the areas as well, when we kind of scope out the audit, it may be that it's not the right time to do this audit, so it could be deferred to another time as well. So there's various factors, if you like, which come into play when we kind of undertake those particular audit reviews.
Okay, any more questions, colleagues? Right, so if we can go to page 14. The recommendation is that the committee is recommended to receive the internal audit plan update report, which covers the period the 1st of April 2025 to the 30th of June 2025. So noted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so if we now move on to agenda item 8, which is the corporate risk register on page 29 to 51. Over to you, Kanchan. Thank you.
Thank you. This particular report provides an update on the authority's corporate risks and for the committee to periodically review the authority's corporate risk register and to consider the effectiveness of the council's risk management arrangements. In paragraph 7 of the report, we've reported that there are currently 34 risks listed on the corporate risk register, and these are detailed within Appendix B. Appendix B also includes an update on the control measures in place, the residual risk scores, and links to corporate priorities. Since the last update, one risk, which previously covered both the Council's operational assets and the highways asset, has now been separated into 2 distinct risks. This change allows for a more targeted risk review of each area, and the risks are in relation to the dilapidation, deterioration of our operational estates due to revenue and capital budget cuts, and the same goes for the highway assets as well. So they've been split into two distinct areas to make it easier to kind of manage and monitor those particular risks. In terms of the heat map, this is detailed in paragraph 8 of the report, and the heat map plots the residual risk scores for each corporate risk based on the likelihood of the risk occurring and the impact on the council in the event that it did occur, and it provides an overview of the council's risk landscape. The heat map currently shows that the greatest number of risks are currently assessed by risk owners as medium-high priority, and there are currently 2 high-priority risks, and these are detailed within paragraph 9 of the report, together with an update on the control measures in place, and these relate to the budget risk and the cyber risk, which are the 2 current high-priority risks on the corporate risk register. If I can take the committee back to the recommendation for the committee to review the updated corporate risk register. Again, happy to take any questions on that, Chair.
Colleagues, any questions? Councillor Underwood.
Thank you, Chair. Risk, Kanchan, risk LBC 0078 on page 49. Do the medical epidemics that's spoken about in the risk details, does that include the winter flu and COVID outbreaks that we experienced during the winter?
Yes, that's right. So we've had the medical epidemics affecting staff. So initially it did impact, cover the COVID risk, and then it was covered obviously for any other, the medical epidemics that could occur. So that's just on the radar, just to have a look to see if that there are controls in place to kind of measure that if that situation was to reoccur. Okay,
so the likelihood is 2. So does that mean that even if there are flu and COVID outbreaks, then the likelihood of them affecting the council is that medium? Oh, sorry.
That's right. It'll be medium low.
Yeah.
A medium low for the likelihood. As we have a arrangement in place with Connect to Luton joint ventures, so we can have the contingent labour in place as an infrastructure in place to be able to get those resources in should we need to.
Okay, thank you. Another risk, LBC 008, the failure to recruit and retain staff. It says that the level of risk varies across the council. So presumably that score there, is that an average across the council? So there's greater or lesser levels of risk for different...
That's right. So this is according to a corporate view around that level of risk. But individual services, also as part of their departmental risk registers, they also have issues where they might have recruitment and retention issues on their individual registers. So you might see that some are scored much higher, for example, because it's particularly relevant for that area and it could impact them much more significantly.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, colleagues? Okay, I've got a couple. Right, so, if I remember at the last meeting, I did say Councillor Underwood did want devolution on the register. I haven't seen it there. Yeah, I haven't forgotten. And given reading our auditor's report, there's a page in there about the devolution and the impact. Can we please have it in on the next version? Because I think in Matt's report, in Grant's it reads that the minister is going to give some information in November on the devolution. So we need to be ready, and I don't know if, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I think everybody's sitting on eggs and don't know which way to move, and that inaction is a risk in itself, because we're waiting for the government because we don't know which way to jump. So we need to be mindful of that, I would say. So please, unless there's a reason, you can come back to me, to Councillor Underwood, why it shouldn't be on the risk register. Okay. With regards to the body of the report, my first question was on LPC 0085 on the train station. There was a working group going to be set up. Has the working group? It has been set up. When are outcomes due? And how? Maybe Dev, you need to answer this one. How is information going to be fed back into the governance structure of LBC? Because we've identified it as a risk. Is it going to go to exec, or will it come here? The outcome as it moves along, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I will take it because Gerard is leading on that, so I'll get an update. And
Say that again?
Gerard is leading on that, so I'll get an update. So if there is any decision where there are some financial implications, so definitely it will go to executive and to FRG, but any risk associated will come to the audit committee, Chair.
Okay. Yeah. When this is up, can you, whatever Gerard said, could you incorporate it into the body of the report? What is appropriate, please? Because then we know that work is going on. We can see the traction, what's moving. Yeah, please. Right, my next question is under priority 3, I think. Is it 3? Under 3, LPC 0093. You got highway flood hotspots reviewed. The outcome, because we're in extreme. This is under climate. We've got more extreme weathers, and it would be good to know. Really happy about the review taking place, but what's being identified and how is it going to be mitigated? That needs to be incorporated in the report. So you might not have the answer now, but it needs to be shared with regards to that bit. So that's my concern. And sorry I didn't come earlier. I was still in the holiday mood and I just didn't want to get my head back into work too quickly. So I do apologise. LBC 0098. Right, the cyber, because that's the highest, that's at risk scoring 12 with finance. Are we going to get, or is all councillors going to get some training with regards to cyber awareness training? I think, just my humble opinion, it would be good to get us all in the room just before a full council meeting and to do the training. And I think it probably might have to be done in private. But instead of this part and this committee, but the councillors need training as much as officers. Have I missed something? Is there something planned and I just didn't know?
Their training plan, but I will take this one with the DDAC team to say what training they're planning for cyber. So I've made, so their training plan for members, but for this one I will take it to the DDAC team, which is the IT team, and I'll get the feedback, Chair. Yeah. So I made a note here.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Underwood, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. October's meeting, October the 8th, there's an item there, cybercrime and use of AI to commit fraud as a private agenda item.
Sorry, I'll just say thank you. Got to keep the mic on. I did see that in the work plan. Where's my bit? Right, LBC 0105. I think that's going to be picked up later. Go on.
Sorry, Chair, but the point that you made still stands. That's only for this committee and it's in private. But you're obviously talking about all elected members, I guess.
What was my last bit? Let's miss the LBC 0105 because audit's going to come in. Right, LBC 0059 on the resilience forum, that's really good, but what are we doing to make residents aware? So you're going to have to get an officer to insert into this, Dev, in an emergency what we do. So there's something like a grab bag. In an emergency, the advice going out to residents, they should have a wind-up clock, all these sort of things. I ain't seeing much push by anybody to make residents aware. And earlier this year, I was in Spain when there was a full-out power cut in Spain and Portugal. So we need to be making residents aware that in case of an emergency, what to do. And I trust officers now with their partners, but residents don't know. And there could be a panic because they did run on the supermarkets in Spain for toilet paper, I heard when I was out there. So, thank you. So that's my bit. There are more comments than questions because you're not equipped to answer the questions, really. Thanks, Dave.
I've made note of everything, Chair, so I'll get it back to the relevant officers. Yeah.
Are there any questions, colleagues? Right, if we go to the front of the report, which is on page 29.
Yeah.
Recommendation is the committee is recommended to review the updated corporate risk register, which we have done.
Yeah.
Thank you. We now go to item 9, indicative external audit plan for 2024-25. Page 52.
Thank you, Chair. So it looks like for some reason the same report has been appended twice, so there's not two versions of the same thing, so we only need to focus on one of those. So this is our indicative audit plan for the 24-25 financial year. It's slated as indicative because we're at one point on the group materiality that we'll need to update you on once that's finalised. So this report will come back to the next meeting with a very brief update, but given 99% of this report is going to stay the same, we wanted to share it now ahead of our visit starting in the end of September. So as in previous years, this will set out our main areas of focus for our accounts work, our value for money work, along with other areas of focus that Council will be working through over the coming 12 months. I'll go through sort of a few of the key areas. The first few pages talk about, I guess, some of the bigger picture things that are going on in the sector. Obviously, the Chair's touched on the devolution agenda, and obviously that's one that's certainly keeping a lot of people very much engaged at the moment with, well, particularly the lack of guidance and you know, working the timelines. No one quite knows what's going to happen. We know as much as anyone else really in terms of where it is, but there are a range of other things that are obviously ongoing at the moment. If I jump to page 61 of the pack, IFRS 16, I think I've mentioned previously, the 24-25 accounts is the first year that that standard applies. There's a bit more there for members, I guess, in terms of the potential impacts of that standard. Obviously, we'll be working through that with the finance team over the coming weeks and months to form a view on the initial assessment on that. Page 62, I guess, provides a bit of an update in terms of the backstop and I guess the overall trajectory of travel. This is the last year that technically has an end of February deadline to sign the accounts off. After February 26th, they start working back. So I guess not an immediate concern, but we're just sort of flagging to authorities that timelines will start to come forward in later years. So it's just worth starting to think about that as you go ahead, rather than sort of it creeping up as we go through the years. Moving on then, page 65 summarises, I guess, the key areas of focus, our significant risks for this year audit. They are the same suite of risks that we found last year. They are pretty much identical to what we will find at most unitaries. Obviously, there's a bit more focus for yourselves on the airport, given the size and the scale of that compared to the council, but again, a relatively standard suite of risks. There's a bit there on materiality. So we start off with the group materiality. That's the number that will change going forward. It should go up for the number that's there, but the council figure that's there should be the figure that we'll be working to. So that's there for info. The following pages then go through each of the sort of significant risks in turn, I guess talking through the particular areas of work that we're doing on each of those. Page 74 sort of just gives us some of the other risks. Obviously the IFRS 16, as we've touched on, just sets out there what we'll do on that. Page 75, we obviously in the past there have been some issues around the cash position, and I know internal audit have flagged some concerns around that, so we'll be trying to follow that up this year as well. And obviously the overall group accounts process on page 76. So there, I guess, other areas of focus for us this year. Page 79 sets out the work that we do on the group accounts. I think obviously you're in a slightly unique position in that the group is significantly made up of the airport, and it's a large part of the group, which is probably unusual for local government. I think, as I said at the last meeting, we've had lengthy and productive conversations with the ZETs as auditors of the airport in terms of the work they're doing, getting as much value as we can from their work to help us with our work. I believe the airport audit is either ongoing or nearly finished at the moment, so they'll be able to report for us, and that will reduce the level of work we will need to do ourselves, depending on their findings. There's a little bit more on materiality over the next couple of pages. If I then jump forward to page 84, so that sets out the recommendations that we raised in the previous year. Most of them, I guess we won't know for sure whether we can clear them or not until we get into the meat of the final accounts work. There are some relating to some of the IT work, which starts on page 90, where we've either been able to close them because things have been resolved, or there are one or two that we're having to carry forward. I think most of those that are being carried forward are largely due to time frames in terms of system upgrades and those kind of things. So not particular areas of concern, but just wanted to bring your attention to that. But there are some in there that have been closed, which is positive. If I then jump ahead to page 96, 97 on the value for money work, our other main strand of our assurance on the council, pages 99 and 100, I guess, set out our initial assessment on the relevant strands. So in the prior year, we had a significant weakness on the governance point of view. One of the strands of it was being resolved around the statutory recs, but obviously there are things that are being worked through still, and obviously when we come to the final piece of work, which will be in that September-October period, we'll confirm whether that's been fully clear. At the moment, we've not flagged any significant risks of significant weakness around the other two strands, which are financial sustainability and the freeze on page 100. Obviously, we'll need to do further work to top that up to year end, but that, I guess, is a positive place to be at the moment. I guess 102 just kind of sets out a broad summary of the overall timeline in terms of where we go and those kind of things. Just trying to see if there's anything else that's worthy of talking through. Pages 109, I guess, just sets out for the committee's benefit the other work that the firm does for the council in terms of those assurance returns that we do, just declaring those for independence purposes. And yes, I think that's all I wanted to go through at this stage of proceedings. More than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions, colleagues? Councillor Underwood?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was going to bring up devolution during this report. So you were saying, we've been saying that there's been a lack of guidance and no one really knows what is going on at the moment. I mean, what does this committee need to do apart from our normal work of making sure that all the correct audit processes in place and the council's being the governance of the council is in place? I mean, how should we be examining this the devolution issue?
Thank you. Yes, I guess there's a couple of strands in there. I mean, I guess the audit process is a part of it in terms of the accounts and that, and I guess obviously trying to make sure that those are moved forward is important. I guess I'm relatively sanguine and recognise that the audit of a set of accounts is not a key driver in terms of the overall devolution process. But I mean, it is probably a consideration. I mean, I think for me, in terms of committees, it's around I guess just looking forward and challenging things. I mean, examples that we have seen elsewhere is, I guess, the things, some of the concerns we have around our authorities, I guess, running down budgets, for want of a better word, using reserves on things that they may want to do themselves that they may not have the same ability or power to do in a merged authority, for example, or I guess putting sort of, for example, not say just an example, sort of making a somewhat spurious sort of investment in a leisure centre that might take 5 to 10 years to build. Is that the right thing to do? I think it's just, so it's trying to have that, I guess, that broader long-term look into things. To kind of actually, if things are reorganised and a different, things are sat in a different shape moving forward, is that still going to look a good use of public funds? Really, I suppose. I mean, I think certainly it's one of the things I guess we're mindful of, is that, so particularly that running down of reserves, or using, I say, particularly things if you've got things like levies put aside for various things, making sure that there's a pressure that you might use those to sort of do things that you might not have the same level of control, the authority might not have the same level of control over moving forward. I mean, in theory, the council's governance arrangement should still manage those, but I think it's just making sure that as a committee you're being aware to that, I guess, that broader, perhaps longer term look. We're not saying if things need replacing, including things need replacing, but I guess it's just trying to make sure that you're looking through that lens, I guess, of that things might not be in the same place in 2-3 years' time. How will some of those decisions look?
Okay, thank you. I don't know, I guess from our point of view, it's quite difficult because we're trying to have a look at this not knowing what is going to happen in 2-3 years' time. And I guess it's a saying for officers not having that that certainty of knowing what is going to be the structure in over that medium term and long term time frame.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I'm not sure. It's challenging on our side of the fence. I'm not sure I want to be on your side, the councillor or officers or members, really, because it's you're trying to prepare and do as much as you can do, but without knowing really how things are going to look, it's incredibly hard to know if you're going in the right direction or if you're going down a rabbit hole with something, really. So yeah, I completely accept that. I think it's a really challenging period for the sector.
Malik?
Report is quite good, and I have a question regarding the IT audit strategy, page number 95, and the areas according to you, as compared to last year, still they are weaker, and you need some evidence. Dave, are we providing to complete this IT audit as soon as possible? What type of evidence they required?
I think, yeah, last year there was a bit of a challenge last year, so the team was insourcing, so Civica contract was being insourced, so the team had to prioritize. But this year we've engaged much earlier, and the IT department is working with our external auditors, so if there's any things, we have regular meeting and we'll pick up those. But IT is absolutely key to whatever we do. So, and all the safeguarding the data, cyber is absolutely critical. So the team from GT, very specialist in IT, and then we, from Kanchan point of view as well, we do our own IT audit, so we employ external firm to do our audit as well. So this is an area, yeah, we definitely have focus on.
Okay, Councillor Malik? Yeah, Councillor Farouk, have you got any questions?
No, okay.
Okay. Do you want us to come back? Okay, Councillor on towards you.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question. Pages 84 and 86, progress against previous years, audit recommendations. There's a similar recommendation by the audit team for both the quality of the draft accounts issue and the group accounts issue, in that it's recommended that for the quality of the draft accounts that management ensure detailed quality assurance review is completed over the accounts before submission for audit, and for the group accounts a similar A similar recommendation, the group figures undergo improved quality assurance checks by the council. There's nothing, for either of those, there's nothing in the initial management response to address those issues. So just, I'm sure you have, but it'd be just nice to have reassurance that those recommendations are going to be addressed.
So, yeah, so we produced our accounts on time this time. So 30th of June, we brought additional resources, and then GT has gone very detailed assessment and gone. So we did our we use GT checklist to go through, do that first, but the deadline to produce the account was quite tight. So we've done that first cut of data and went through before we produce. Now GT team, technical team has done further review of that accounts and gave us a list which we are going through. It's nearly 2 weeks now. So most of these is being dealt with. One of the things with last year was group accounts came very late, but this time we've got the group accounts. The group, one of the things is valuation of the airport is something which can change, but other than that, we've got the group figures. So we're working with GT and they will be coming back in October, but we are working already, providing sample, and we already audit has started. So the response which we'll give to audit based on the quality, there will be changes. Let's not hope there are massive significant changes. So the team is working flat out with GT to make sure that there's the lessons learned from last year's much improved working papers and quality. So every week the team meets. Francis, you met last time, so Francis chairs the meeting every week, and I get feedback from them that everything's being done, and we meet with GTR as well. So we're trying to do everything that's with a much better position this year.
Thanks. My question, Matt, is have you got any idea around the geographical basis of the local audit office? If you got any indication on that? You might not, but I just thought to ask. And then my other bit, I read in the report that you get finance officers together. This is on page 60. You invited finance officers to, in March 2025, your annual financial reporting workshop. Do you offer something similar to audit committees to your clients for elected members? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
So in terms of, I guess, the LAO, geographically, I don't know where it will be based. I mean, I could probably have a view where I think it might well be based. I suppose the organisation would try and see it as it's, I guess, a national, national wide and those kind of things. Where they'll actually base themselves, I don't know. I mean, I suspect it will be London, but I couldn't say with any certainty on that. In terms of the updates, we do run sessions for members and members like yourselves. I will tell everyone away and check where they are. They're less frequent, I think, than the sort of the finance director ones, but I could certainly get the details and share those accordingly so you can dial in as required.
Thank you. Thank you. More questions, colleagues? No? Right, so if we go back to the beginning of the report, the recommendation is page 50. Sorry, I went right past that. Thank you. To note the external auditor's report. So noted. Thank you. We now move on to item 10. I believe it's the last item of the agenda tonight, and that's the work programme. Who's going to put that? You're going to be you, Dev, that present that.
Shall I, Chair?
Oh, okay. I'll give Dev a rinse, yes.
Want me to do?
Don't fight.
Normally, I've not presented the work program in the past. No.
Okay.
Matt to say used to do that, but I'm quite happy to go through.
think
So in terms of the general, what we are going to do is you've got all the work program here. That will be updated, and we are going to liaise with GT because some of the things is the data are not here. So we've got data, and Francis is on holiday. We'll update those. And the other thing which will be in the work program is the point you've raised, Chair, is to bring the Q1, so that will go in. And there will be other things which we started training for members, so we'll have more training for members. So the main one is for the next 4 months is going to be when we liaise with GT and as and when. So the next report, my understanding, will come in sort of January time, the value for money one. But in the interim, if there's any other report, then we'll bring it to the audit committee. And then the normal work program which Kanchan will bring, and then we'll revise that for the October and come much more complete work program. And if there's anything which members would like to be included, so we're quite happy to take it to officers and bring it out as well, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Marie, do you want to add to that?
Well, only that we were going to start adding the exec forward plan, I believe.
So would you like a copy of the exec forward plan in here? Yeah, so the exec forward plan is already published, so we can just link this for the audit committee because and everything is published sort of 1 month in advance. So like the quarter one for the report is going the 8th of September, it's being published today. So the next audit committee, we are liaising to bring it to the audit committee. But that will be a separate report just focusing on risk, but the executive report will be attached as an appendix. But the audit committee focus will be more on risk. Yeah.
Okay, is that okay? The two of you did it together. Well done, see? Two heads are better than one. Right, on that note, colleagues, we've come to the end of our meeting. Thank you.